What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, say what you will about phases 4, 5, and the beginning of phase 6. The Multiverse Saga has lacked the same sort of luster and excitement that the Infinity Saga ended with by the time we approached Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. But that does not mean, and by any means, that it's a complete throwaway, because some of our favorite Marvel projects, or at least I'll speak for myself, and things like Loki Season 2, Werewolf by Night, Spider-Man No Way Home, have been a part of this phase, and inevitably it has grown the MCU into a very different place, minus some of its key characters again from the Infinity Saga. However, if these latest reports now resurfacing are true, corroborating what we reported on earlier in the year, it seems as though everything is going to change and the Multiverse Saga is never going to have existed in the canon at all. We're breaking down this latest report, where it came from, and what it says about the upcoming Avengers Doomsday, the film actually starting in a place that's way before all of the Multiverse Saga even took place. We're breaking it all down, the Multiverse Saga being completely erased by Marvel Studios. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we do daily Marvel content at the channel. That's all we do. Thanks to everyone who's been subbing lately and helped grow the channel. I know some of you have noticed that you're not seeing the videos, or maybe you've been unsubscribed. Again, I don't know anything about YouTube's algorithm. It is what it is. In the meantime, if you're not subbed and you like the videos, if you want to keep up with the content, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. That automatically enters you for the giveaways. If you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this latest report actually surfaced 2 days ago over on comicbooknews.com, referring to something we've been talking about loosely at the channel, where Doomsday is actually taking place. Now, obviously, there was an assumption that we would get flashbacks, either in the 616 or in other timelines, wherever Victor Von Doom's original timeline is, be it the 616 or not, to establish his backstory. And with all of the confirmations recently pointing to Steve Rogers' return, at the point that he returned the Infinity Stones in Mjolnir and then spent his life with Peggy Carter, we assumed we may revisit those scenes as well. But it seems like not only are we revisiting those scenes, it's completely changing the future. According to CBN and their sources, Avengers Doomsday is going to pick up right after Avengers Endgame ends. And in that, as the story plays out anew, we'll completely rewrite the Multiverse Saga, as in those events never happened, none of those projects ever existed. Now, what this doesn't mean is that those projects weren't canon. They were canon, but that was just the last time we played through the loop that He Who Remains said would inevitably play out time and time again. Loki finally broke that loop. In that context, this makes sense because there is a new story coming, one that will change wherever it picks up in that loop, and apparently will be picking up in Avengers Endgame. But what that also does is sort of lessen all of the stakes, well, if there were any, that they built during the Multiverse Saga. And I only say that half joking because there were stakes. Look, I like some projects in the Multiverse Saga in my top 10. Loki Season 2 is an absolute masterpiece. Werewolf by Night is one of the best things Marvel Studios has ever put out for what it is. On top of that, Spider-Man No Way Home is an all-timer. I really enjoyed Shang-Chi, and I know there have been a lot of misses, like Marvel's worst project in Secret Invasion, and I say that unequivocally because it is just so far behind any other Marvel project, and that's saying a lot. Still, all of these projects were canon in that they were the end of the last part of the loop that it was playing through for He Who Remains. Everything after Loki took a seat at the throne and broke the loom means we were into a new story, and something else may play out along that circle, which for us apparently is going to be in the past. Now look, they said from the very beginning, they being the Russos, that Tony Stark's death would have a huge meaning in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. So we were always going to harken back to that in some kind of way, or should I say Starken back. Yeah, please don't unsub because I said that. And so all of the logical context with the canon that Marvel Studios has already established with Kang, the Loom, the TVA, Loki, it all follows. There's actually no problems there. It also affords Marvel the huge opportunity of remaking the continuity exactly how they want it, as Kevin Feige teased about having singular timelines reformed, and then went a step further and said Endgame was about the end, quote, Avengers Secret Wars is about new beginnings. And if the Multiverse Saga has now been left in canon but erased from the continuity, then Marvel Studios has a brand new opportunity to explain backstories and relationships that didn't exist before, as in stuff like, well, the X-Men has always been here, and they do know Sam Wilson's Cap and Iron Man and Shang-Chi, and there is a new Steve Rogers, and there is a new Tony Stark, and all of this stuff just played out completely differently than what we saw before. Again, not erased from the canon. It still happened, just erased from the continuity line going forward after Avengers Secret Wars. Huge distinction. And again, after we were sort of working through this and thinking about how complicated it could be, it's also easier than that. Because if you think about it, first of all, we've seen characters on screen that have been in the same location at the same time, working together and presumably know each other. Great example, Sam Wilson and Shuri, who have never actually ever spoken on screen. And these sort of relationships exist by proxy all over the MCU. And on top of that, just because things played out differently didn't mean that some of the things didn't play out the same. So for instance, does Thor still have Gore's daughter Love? Or did Shang-Chi actually get the 10 rings from Wenwu in the same way? Of course, some of these things will have still happened. It doesn't mean that everything changed in a new play out for continuity. It just means that things happened differently. Where the onus is then on is where we end Avengers Secret Wars. Because if Avengers Secret Wars is meant to take place at the end of Avengers Endgame, play out with a brand new storyline, and then end in a place that's before the multiverse saga even ever happened, then some of those characters will not have yet experienced those things. But some of them will have, and Marvel Studios is obviously going to leave this ambiguous, open-ended. Whenever they need to, they'll explain it so that they can bring characters back like Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, which ultimately leads me to the conclusion that when we are watching the post-credit scene for Avengers Secret Wars, if there is one, or at least that last credit reel, that in that moment, there will be a new Tony Stark, there will be a new Steve Rogers, Miles Morales, some of these other characters who aren't in the MCU right now might actually already be there. And although we might not meet them in some of our first movies like Blade or the X-Men reboot, Fantastic Four 2, etc., they're there. They're already there. As soon as the continuity continues into a singular timeline at the end of Avengers Secret Wars, there's a new Tony Stark, there's a new Steve Rogers, things played out completely differently. It doesn't have to be that complicated, and of course there will be times where they have to address it, but as long as they don't paint themselves into a corner, I know, easier said than done, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to leverage a reset like this to their own advantage for storytelling and for the fans' advantage bringing back some key characters. Let's see if they actually make it count. You guys let me know all your thoughts though down below in the comments about any and all of this, how you feel about them essentially doing an overwrite to the multiverse saga, and how complicated you think it might be when we come out the other end with the new X-Men and all new events. I'm all ears as always. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff. Guys, we're still giving away PS5s at the channel. The next one is Marvel Zombies in just a couple of weeks, actually a week. All you gotta do, be a sub, leave a comment, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. Make sure to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on to keep up with the videos. And of course, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. Find me on all other platforms under the name AllFires. And while I would sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.